Okay, great. So I think we can begin today's session, right? Sit comfortably on your mat. Keep the back and neck straight. Awesome. Sit comfortably on the mat, keeping the back neck straight, and gently close the eyes. Just observe your breathing. Just the natural flow of the breath as you inhale and as you exhale. Line your body. Once the body is aligned, just make sure that there is no further movement. Slowly begin to deepen the breath. Relax your mind. Coming back to this moment. The reality of this moment is your breathing. Keep observing the breath. Prepare yourselves mentally for the chanting of Om. We will chant Om 3 times, followed by 3 shantis. Inhale deeply for Om. Om. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Just feel the vibrations. Join your palms together and rub the palms together. Keep them on the eyes. Very slowly while blinking at the palms. Like that. Start coming back It's fine. Namaste, everyone. Let us begin today's session. So today we are going to talk about mudras, right? What are mudras? Why we perform mudras? All of these things. MUDRAs, mudras. Right? So you guys would have heard before also, and even in your asana practice, your pranayama practice, like in the beginning I told you, you can go for this mudra, that mudra. But what is this mudra, right? So, let me come a little bit to the Indian tradition itself. So, in India, you will see that mudras were practiced and mudras are practiced in a lot of things, and dance being one of the major places where mudras are practiced. So, if you have ever learned some form of Indian dance or uh, yeah, any form of Indian traditional dance, you will see that mudras are a very important portion in that dance, right? And mudras are given a lot of relevance because of their impact. Mudras are very advanced practices. So even though I am teaching you about mudras, uh, first establish yourself in asanas, pranayama, and then go into the practice of mudras, not before that, right? Because uh, from asana to pranayama only, the subtle, like pranayama is a more subtle practice than like asana, right? And then when you come to mudras, they are much more subtle, right? So you can perform a mudra, but if you do not understand the impact of the mudra, then you might end up harming yourself a lot, right? And you will not even recognize that you harmed yourself that way. So in pranayama, we discuss so many contraindications for people who can do it, who cannot do particular pranayama. So think of how deep you are going when you do mudra. So mudras generally come after the practice of uh, Shatkarma, Asana, Pranayama. So at least before you establish yourself in these three, do not practice mudras. Okay? Because you will again not be able to understand what harm is being caused. It's a very subtle, it's working at a very subtle level. Okay, so your awareness needs to be a lot when you do mudras. Okay, so mudra, this word has been derived from the mud, M-U-D, which means pleasure or delight. And dravya, which again is from uh, dhru, which means to derive. So MUD, mud means pleasure, and dravya, 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 which again, the basis of this word is from dhru, this word, which means to derive. Right? So when you look at this word mudra, this directly means to derive delight or pleasure, right? You would have seen mudras are actually attitudes and gestures. You can see gesture, right? Gestures that you form with your body in order to from the basic meaning, derive that pleasure, delight, or you can also say mudras are circuits. Okay, so when you form mudras, you form a circuit. So it's like if you should have ever seen an electrician. So whenever something goes faulty, they check the wires, right? And then they like complete that circuit, right? So suppose there is some like problem in the wire or it has been cut from a particular point, right? So they connect them together. And as soon as they connect the wires together, the electricity starts flowing properly, right? And the appliance starts working, right? So mudras are also something like this only. So right now, there are a lot of ways in which you can uh, modify your body posture in order to come into a mudra. As soon as you form that mudra, a circuit is completed. Okay, and when the circuit is completed, so the energy is also manipulated in that. Okay, so like the basis why the mudras are coming is because a lot of energy is escaping us. It's like you know, when we make that connection with the hands or with the there are various types of mudras which we will discuss, but when we make that connection, basically the escaping that is taking place. So a lot of prana escapes from your body when you know engage with the senses. Like I'm looking at something, so right now I'm looking at the screen, right? So a lot of prana is emanating from my eyes right now, okay, because I'm putting in that energy to look at the screen, right? So when we take the eyes in a particular direction, right, you will see that it has an impact on you. Suppose you choose to concentrate the eyes on the nose tip, okay, you are just changing the direction of the eyes. So that is when you realize that eyes are also emanating some form of energy, because now when you focus on your nose tip, you will see that immediately your concentration and focus begins to sharpen, right? So this in itself, when you even experimentally do mudras, you will see that some energy is being emanated, right? And when you do that mudra, you will see that because you're not allowing the energy to escape just baselessly, right? Or you are completing a circuit, so that same thing turns into it leads to an increase in focus or concentration, because some energy is actually escaping. So when you finish that circuit, that energy travels, comes back, right? So it's like switching on the AC and leaving the room open. So the room will never get cold, right? And the thing that you're trying to achieve, you will never be able to achieve because you left the door open, right? So when you close the door, which means when you form the mudras, you are fulfilling the purpose, right? The reason why you turned on the AC, that purpose should be fulfilled, right? So you close the door, right? Same way, when you are going into yogic practices, you're working on your prana. This we have discussed in pranayama also. So mudras lead to the conservation of the prana. So when I close the door, the pranic energy that is consistently escaping out from my body, I'm closing that circuit or creating that loop so that that energy doesn't escape out, because my entire uh, aim is to conserve that energy. Yogi conserves a lot of pranic energy, right? And mudras are a great way to do that. Mudras are also a great way to go into the practice of pratyahar. So today we were talking about pratyahar a little bit in philosophy class also. So pratyahar meaning that the attention is turned inwards, right? So suppose I choose to focus my eyes somewhere, right? Maybe on the nose tip, again, same example. So I'm completing a circuit, and because I've chosen to focus the eyes on one point, it leads to introversion. That is why my concentration and focus increases, right? If I engage my eyes with everything that is going around me, I will feel very chaotic, right? So pratyahar will not be able to take place. But when I focus my attention on the tip of my nose, right, the eyes on the tip of my nose, that is when the concentration will become introverted, right? So I will start going inward. So mudras are a great way to go to aid you in the practice of pratyahar also, right? And if you go to Indian tradition, you will find a lot of mudras that are adopted when you uh, perform dances. And uh, Indian dances, especially, they were like done as a form of worship to God. So if you go the history background of certain dance techniques that are taught in India, you will see that those were actually like you your devotion to God, right? It was a way to please God, and over there people formed mudras. So mudras are very relevant, especially when you are working on your spiritual journey, right? Physical, mental, emotional, all these advantages are there, but it's a sense deeply rooted in something very spiritual, right? So mudras, I told you the reason why we perform mudras and what mudras mean, right? So you are basically trying to avoid the energy escaping from your body. So when we do yoga practices, we see that asana, leads to shaking up of the energy, right? Then pranayama leads to the uh, direction of that energy. But then again, energy is escaping again and again, like from a hand. So you will see the mention of Hast Mudras a lot, mudras that are formed by hand. So people form this, people, join different tips, right, together. So this leads to energy leakage, like you complete a circuit, so energy is not leaking from here, which was originally going to escape from the tips of your hand. So you will observe this more when you sit in meditation and pranayam practices. You will see, if you place your hand just normally, even though it's completely fine, you place your hand like this, right? But when you adopt a mudra, you will see your concentration is much better, right? Again, mudras are practiced as a they can be separately practiced, right? And they can also be practiced along with asanas, pranayamas, in order to aid you in those fields, right? So like when you do your asana practice also, there's this asana called Nataraj asana, right? Uh, which is like one of the poses of Lord Shiva, and that you uh, place your hand like this, right? So again, in asana practice also you are doing mudra, okay? So it can be a combination, and mudras can be separately practiced also. When you come to mudras, a lot of practices believe that it is a totally different science, right? And it needs to be studied very much in depth. So even though we feel that, okay, asana pranayama, then we will do mudra. But a lot of places consider mudras to be a completely vast and different in the sense separate field altogether. So you will find a lot of people very deeply study mudras and use it as therapeutic and spiritual, uh, as a therapeutic and a spiritual practice, right? So the deeper you want to go into mudras, you can, right? You can delve very deeply into the concept of mudras. Now, mudras, why are they again different? Because they are body. So unmake layer of the body that we talked of, right? So that layer of the body is again being connected to the manomay kosh, because mudras have great impact on your mind. Okay, so it is forming a link between the anmay kosh, pranmay kosh, because your prana is being manipulated, right? It is being sent back in the body, and manomay kosh, because mudras are mostly working on the manomay kosh. So when you form the chin mudra, you join the tips of the index finger and thumb together, leaving the rest three hand like fingers loose, right? So this mudra, when you form this, you will see, if you close your eyes, just observe the impact. You will see you feel much more calm, right? So mudras are working even more deeply than pranayama, where they form a connection with the mind. Okay, so immediately your mind will feel very calm and peaceful. And when you sit for meditation, you generally adopt this only, and it makes you feel much like focused. Or right now, if you haven't realized it, next time you sit for meditation, try different hand positions, and you will see some mudras actually help you to focus and concentrate better, right? So these form a link between all the three koshas. So Anmay Kosh, you are using your body, right? Then Pranmay Kosh, you are manipulating the prana, and Manomay Kosh, where it shows the most impact. So when you adopt a mudra, you will see very quickly, you will see the results of that on the body. Suppose you're very anxious, and then you adopt certain mudra for that, you will see very quick impact on your mind, right? Directly, it is targeting the mind. And hence, it is a very advanced practice and should not be practiced unless and until you are established in the limbs before. So let's discuss the uh, types of mudras, because that is also very important. Because mudras are generally, like I was also showing you hand mudra only. So they're very easily mistaken to be just the hand gestures, but they are gestures that you perform with your overall body, right? And they can be used in combination or they can be used separately, right? So first your mudra is the Hast Mudra. Okay. Yeah. So like I was showing you this mudra, right? I'm using my hands, right? There are different types of mudras that you can form, and I told you 5 fingers, right? What all they represent. So suppose I'm joining this and this. So I'm joining fire and air element together. It's going to show an impact on the fire and air element in my body, right? Now when I take this down, again, it's suppressing the air, right? So this is also how you can connect your mind, because I told you 5 fingers represent the 5 elements, right? So next time when you see a particular mudra, you can directly connect which elements are coming into play, right? Hast mudras are generally formed by the hands, and it is based on the logic that a lot of energy is escaping through the hands, right? Like from your tips, you will see a lot of prana escapes, right? And when you join, you complete a circuit once again, right? So you would have also seen that hands are generally, connected to your entire body, one thing. And second thing, uh, heat heat generation is there in the hands. If your hands are covered, right, you feel warmer. And in the same place, if your hands are not covered, you will feel cold very soon, right? So a lot of heat escapes. That is how one way of understanding it. A lot of heat escapes through your hands, right? So when you join the fingers, you are basically heat. I'm just saying because it's easier to connect, right? That some energy is escaped. So at all times, energy is escaping from your hands. So when you form hand mudras, you are able to conserve that energy. You are able to form a particular circuit in a body. And depending on what kind of circuit you are forming in the body, you will see the benefits. And depending on which element you are using when you form that circuit, you will see the benefits of that mudra in that respect. So your Jnana Mudra, Chin Mudra, right? Vayu Mudra, Hridaya Mudra, Yoni Mudra. All these mudras are formed with the hands, right? So we will practice mudras also in the future classes, but we are going to do them for a long period of time. So you won't be able to feel the impact just if I do this and say 3-4 breaths. No. Of course, I will feel a change when my hands are like this to like this, right? But if you want to really feel the impact of mudras, at least practice for 15 to 20 minutes. Sit with that mudra, right? And see what kind of impact it is having on, right? So after the Hast Mudras, we have Mana Mudra, M-A-N-A. Head mudras, basically. So anything that is engaging your eyes, your nose, lips, tongue, ears, right? All of these come under the category of the Man Mudras. So like I said, gave the example of the eyes. So a lot of energy is consistently escaping through the eyes because you are looking at something and you are basically transferring or using the pranic energy of the eyes in order to view that thing, right? So that is why sometimes, when we are having a very stressful kind of day, or we are very like, just like having a headache or something like that, closing the eyes really makes us feel better. Just disconnecting for a few moments because prana is escaping, right? And you have put one barrier, even though properly putting the barrier, again, we go for different mudras, but even just closing the eyes, it is conserving some energy. When I close my eyes, some of my energy is being conserved. When I close my ears, some form of my energy is being conserved. When you don't talk throughout your day, you conserve a lot of energy, right? We waste so much energy when we talk, right? So in that same way, these mudras help you to conserve the energy. So like Shanmukhi Mudra. So when we did Brahmari, we did the Shanmukhi Mudra, in which I asked you to either place the fingers on your eyes or on your eyelashes. So why? What is this doing? Nothing. You can close your eyes normally also, right? But this is again conserving that energy that the eyes would have given up in case we did not perform it. We close the ears. Why? No need, right? But again, some prana is escaping from the body at all times, so you need to conserve that thing, right? So mana mudras, these are like Shambhavi Mudra, where you focus on eyebrow center, Nasikagra Drishti, where both the eyes, you focus them on the tip of the nose, Shanmukhi Mudra. All of these are working with the face, right? Your lips, nose, eyes, ears, right? These all mudras are going to come under this category, even the ones that you form with your tongue. So Kechari Mudra is one very advanced level mudra where you take the tongue back and you try to take the tongue back and up, right? So that also comes under the category of Mana Mudras. Okay. Then we have Kaya Mudra. Kaya literally means body, right? Body posture. So when you perform certain mudras where you manipulate the body posture in order to complete some energy circuit, that will come under your body posture, right? Kaya mudras. like I said, you can do it as a combination where you are now combining asana and the energy flow also you're combining, right? So you will see Vipreet Karni Mudra, Yoga Mudra, right? Yoga Mudra you would have done in your Ashtanga classes also. So these things they're combining a body posture, and as a combination of that body posture, some energy is being again manipulated. So these come under the Kaya Mudras, where body posture. Now you're not using, like, you're not specifically engaging the hands, you're not specifically engaging the eyes, but you are manipulating your body posture, right? When you do Vipreet Kani Mudra, again, body is upside down, right? But it forms for a mudra, right? Then uh, then fourth category is bandhas. Bandhas, bandhas, right? So bandhas and mudras, they are sometimes practiced together, right? So when the combination of the two takes place, that is when we categorize bandhas under mudras, right? So like your Mahamudra you would have heard of. MAH, Mahamudra. So when you see the technique of Mahamudra, you will see that it is like a combination of a body posture, right? And along with that, you are applying locks in your body, right? So when you do Mahamudra, you basically, like, when you come into that mudra, you apply locks along with it. So this combination of mudra and bandha, when they come together, that is one type of mudra, and it comes under the category of bandhas, right? So you will also find other examples, Mahavedana, Mahavedana mudras. So these are all body posture is being manipulated, and along with that, the locks are being performed. Even bandhas are a way of locking the energy in the body in specific body parts, right? So lock is being performed along with a way in which the body posture basically supports the energy, right? Uh, Next, last type, we have 5 categories. So fifth category, and we see it is here. Adhar Mudra. So when you would have in philosophy classes only, I think we discussed this thing when I was teaching you Hatha Yoga, that energy, we have to take the energy upward. Movement of energy has to be directed upwards, right? So when we were discussing this thing, so I don't know if I mentioned this thing. So when when we engage in sexual activities, right? So the energy flows downwards, right? It escapes from the lower parts of the body, right? That is why when you will see in a lot of yogic practices, uh, engaging in sexual activities is prohibited. Not because it is right or wrong. It has nothing to do with that. That we created. Okay. But when you see energy, right? So energy can either flow downwards. When it is flowing downwards, it cannot flow upwards, right? Like if I switch on the light, there is no darkness. Okay. So, and it can also go upwards. So you when you become a yoga practitioner, you are directing all of your like efforts towards making the energy flow upwards, right? So there are certain mudras again given for this purpose where the energy which escapes through the lower parts of the body, right? It is directed upward so that your yogic practices become fruitful, right? And these are called your Adhar Mudra. So Ashwini Mudra. This is a good example, right? Ashwini Mudra, uh, Vajroli Mudra. These are very advanced practices, so we don't have them in course, but I'm still mentioning the name so that you have one or two examples for each category, right? But mainly we are going to be practicing Hast Mudras and maximum Mana Mudras, where we are going to discuss how our gaze and like all of these things are engaged, like Shanmukhi Mudra being one of them. So we are going to, when in the next class, we are going to discuss more on like discuss and talk about the techniques and then practice the mudras in future classes, right? So this is the entire concept of mudras, and these a lot of the mudras that I have told you, especially when it comes to Kaya, Bandha, and Adhar Mudras, these are advanced level practices. They come in when you have again established yourselves in asanas and pranayamas and all other things that you need to establish yourself in before you go into the practice of mudras. So when it comes to bandhas, so first you need to establish yourself in the bandhas that are there. It's only then that you can do the bandha mudras. Otherwise, you won't be able to do them. If I do not know how to uh, practice a lock, and not only know I have done the practice, I cannot go into bandhas because they are a combination of the locks as well as the mudras, body positioning, right? So for this, you need to develop yourself a lot, right? And they will have the advantage also on a very subtle way, right? Like immediately there is a change in the state of mind. So when we will practice and practice for a long period of time, you will be able to see all of these things actually happening in your body, right? So right now I'm just talking about prana escaping. You do not know, right? But when you do mudras, you will see how much of your energy you are losing every day and how you can conserve that energy. That's the main focus of the yogi, that they do not like they work highly on the uh, you know giving direction and manipulating the prana, right? So again, pranayam, nadi shodhana, these are very important practices because if my nadis are not cleansed, then what good will forming the circuit of the energy do to me, right? Because nadi is blocked, energy is not able to move, right? So first establish yourself in practices which are before this, and I would say avoid teaching mudras also. If you take classes, do not go deeply or do not discuss mudras a lot because again, there is no point. People will get engaged in the concept of mudras and they will forget about the remaining limbs, right? And then they will lose their way because their body is not ready, and you can cause a lot of harm to yourself if you go into the practice of mudras and do not establish yourself in other practices which aid the mudras, right? So any doubts in what mudras are, why we practice mudras and types of mudras? Today, whatever we have discussed.
No doubts, ma'am.
All right. Okay, great. So I think then we can end today's session. Yeah. And on Monday, we are going to discuss deeply on the various mudras that are there in your syllabus. Yeah. So keep the back and neck straight, sit comfortably, and gently close your eyes. We'll just observe the breathing for a few seconds, and then we close the session. So just observe your breathing. Prepare yourself for chanting Om one time, followed by 3 Shantis. Inhale deeply for Om. Om. Shanti. 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 Join your palms together and just bow down. Let's take out a few moments to feel gratitude for everything we have. Rub your palms together. Place them on the eyes. Very slowly, while blinking and looking at the palms, open up the eyes. Start coming back to the smile. Namaste to everyone. Enjoy your weekend. And I will see you on Monday for your philosophy class. Bye-bye and take care.
Om Shanti, ma'am. Enjoy your weekend.
You too. Om Shanti.